best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And we are pleased to present for your edification and enjoyment the owner of that fine establishment at 230 Beverly Parkway. I refer to Frontier Motors. He, the owner, will be happy to take any calls or inquiries from you concerning the price of a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. How do you do that? 476-1007, 476-1007. Then I will connect you with him, Mr. Iven Streckle. How'd that sound?
That was really good, Don. Thank you. You've done this before.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it.
We've been going on our 16th year here at the Frontier Motor Show. We started out with 1370 AM radio, and we have now graduated to also FM radio, 100.7 FM. And if you're listening to this on the radio, you can dial like Don said, you can dial the radio show by dialing 476-1007. If you're watching this on TV, we're also videotaping this for our cable subscribers in the Pensacola area. I think we go out probably within a 300-mile radius. So some of the people out there on TV might be the first time you are watching this show. And what we do at the Frontier Motor Show, we are in the heart of Escambia County in Pensacola, and we are one of the few shows that gives people a venue to go to when they have questions about purchasing a car. And we do this whether they purchase this car from Frontier Motors or they have a car that they're looking at from maybe their neighbor, relative, maybe they're inheriting a car, maybe you're finding one on Craigslist or eBay or Auto Trader, Cars.com, or maybe it's just another car dealership, and you're wondering, is this a good car, bad car? You're wondering if it is a good history report, a bad history report. But the main thing you might be wondering, what's a good price on this car? Should I go to Cars.com, or should I go to Auto Trader, or should I go to the Edmunds or the Kelley Blue Book? What you do is you should go to Frontier Motors. And we're going to tell you, you don't have to even tell us what they're asking for the car. Just describe the car for us. If you have the mileage, the equipment, and the model, that would, of course, would be helpful. Something that would also be helpful is you have the ID number, the VIN number, which is on the windshield of the car. Usually it's on the left lower corner of the passenger side, and it's a 17-digit VIN number. It's an identification number. If we have that, I can plug that into my computer, and we have a program called Dealer Track Technologies called AX Estimates for Dealerships. And what it does is it gives me the history report from the Auto Check and the Carfax, which I can get for you for free, because if you subscribe to Carfax, for example, it's close to $40 to run a Carfax report these days. Well, Frontier Motors, we will do it at no charge for you. And the main thing that we can help you with is, what is that car going to cost if you bought it from Frontier Motors? So let's say, for example, that you have, I have a customer this morning that we're giving him a price on a 2012 Cadillac SRX Premium Package, which is the one with the leather, the sunroof, the skylights, and navigation, everything on it. And we've given him a price. And he actually had found one in a dealership, and he says, your price is almost $3,000 less than when I can buy one from the dealership. Now, the disadvantage that I had is I didn't have that car there, and we weren't really trying to sell him a car, but he said, hey, if you can really get the car for that price, I'll buy it through you guys at Frontier Motors. And, of course, that's our ultimate goal, is to have you cancel the other deal and buy it from us. But we know that that we're not talking into that. And if you can use our information to go back to that original dealer and make them an offer, well, the way when we come in is when they say no, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say, well, we don't want to lose your business. Let's go ahead and compromise on the price, and we'll go ahead and meet that deal at Frontier Motors and go ahead and buy it from you. And sometimes the dealership says no, or they get mad at you, or you get mad at them, or maybe you don't like them very much, and you say, well, let's go over to Frontier Motors. And what we did is, on this particular car, on this Cadillac, we did a locate. And we found when we had to go all the way to Houston, Texas, but we found it this morning. We're in the process of wire transferring the money and going to get the car, and the car is already pre-sold to our customer, subject to them seeing the car. And that wasn't our ultimate goal, of course. Well, I shouldn't say it was our ultimate goal, but all we started out was giving him a value. That's all it was. And that we can help you get a value on your car a little bit differently than what the internet does. Again, these are the venues that I use. You have got to be a car dealership to be able to get some of the pricing. And the reason that I say that is because it gets me right into the auction reports. And one of the things that I use, one of the books that I use is the NADA book. This NADA guidebook, by the way, you cannot get on the internet unless you're a dealership or unless you're an insurance company or bank. This is what your local credit union and bank uses to value the car. And a lot of the insurance companies in the Pensacola area also use the NADA for replacement cost. And, of course, they should pay you retail and plus the taxes. Now, the other thing that I look at is the black wholesale guidebooks. And these are the books that printed on this is a truck book I'm holding up right now, and this is printed every 2 weeks. And they also have a black wholesale guidebook for cars, which is printed every week. And what they do is they compile all the data through the Mannheim auctions, not just Mannheim, but they have Odessa auctions. There's lots of little auctions. They compile all the data, and they tell me what I can buy a car for based on last week's sales. So if I plug in what I did this morning is I plugged in that SRX to find out what are they going through the auction, because I was actually buying this car from another dealership, which is very unusual. Usually I don't get a deal from a dealership, but this particular dealership actually gave me a pretty good price on this particular car, and I looked at the auction reports to see what they're going for, and I was actually buying it for right what I could buy it for at the auction, and which I thought was pretty good. Normally a dealer would mark that car up to me, and I was able to get that car for an auction price, and that's how I figure out what a car is worth. People always ask me, well, how do you appraise the cars? Do you use the Edmunds or the Kelly or the consumer's version of the NEDA, which you find on the internet? And I say, no, I don't use any of those. I never check the Kelly or the Blue Book. I check reality, and to me, reality is what can I buy a car for? If I can buy a car for $20,000 at the auction, there are some fees that you have to pay when you buy a car at the auction, including shipping, the auction fee. The buyer that goes to the auction physically, he gets a fee, and then it also costs to detail the car and get the car ready if you need to get an extra set of keys or do an oil change on the car. And those fees are usually about $1,000. So if it's a $20,000 car, now I've got 21 in it. Let's say I marked a car up hypothetically $1,000 or $2,000. I would tell you that car is going to cost you somewhere between $22,000 and $23,000. Now, if you find that car using the NADA guidebook and it says the car is $27,000, well, then you're paying too much. So I do use the NADA guidebooks because that's going to help me as far as getting that car financed through my local banker. But that's not necessarily what you pay for the car. And the same thing with the Kelly or the Edmunds is if they say that car is $27,000, well, you better give Frontier Motors a call, because maybe I can sell you that car for $23,000 or $24,000, because maybe the book value is a little exaggerated based on what they're selling for at the auction. Every once in a while, it's the other way around. The other day I was bidding on a Honda Civic, and it said that the retail on the car was $5,000, but they're going at the auction for $5,000 before the dealership even makes a profit. So sometimes the books are the other way, but you would want to know that by calling Frontier Motors to make sure that the books are either high or low. Well, the other thing we do at Frontier Motors is we can tell you what to pay on a brand new car. I have the new car cost guides that we subscribe to. These come out about 7 or 8 times a year, and the reason they're updated is because new models sometimes get entered throughout the year, where they come up with a new model. Sometimes they change the prices or the equipment or the packages, so that's why we get so many of these. But they tell me what the list price and the cost is. And I'll give you an example. A Jeep Compass has a retail price of $18,495, a dealer invoice of $18,280. Boy, oh boy, how does the dealership make money? That means that the markup between retail and invoice is only $350. And folks, this is not unusual. Now, they still get a little bit of kickback at the end of the year. Sometimes they get a little bit of money coming back from the manufacturer. But this tells me that if you go buy a base Jeep Compass, you're not getting a discount, because the dealer's hardly making any money on the car unless they put what I call garbage on top of it. You'll notice if you go to some dealerships' websites, maybe not so much the website, but if you go on the lot, they'll have what they call an addendum sticker on there, where they put dealership installed options. A lot of those options, and everybody's familiar with this, I don't have to repeat it: rust proofing, gloss treatment, scotch guarding, fabric treatment, leather treatment, pinstriping, glass etching, anti-theft things that they put on the car, different wheels and tires. And the reason they add these things on the vehicle is because they're not making enough money on the vehicle if it's just the base model. Like I said, if you buy a Jeep Compass based on what the invoice to list price is, there's only about a $300 or $400 markup on that car. They can't stay in business making $400, so they put all the garbage on there, and that's how they end up making money. And sometimes, of course, that's all negotiable. So, but it allows them at least to give you a discount, because who wants to walk into a dealership and pay full list? Nobody does. They want some kind of a deal. One of the things that we do at Frontier Motors also that you might not know about if you have not bought a car from Frontier Motors, we try not to negotiate. We try to tell you, here's the NEDA retail, Here's what they're going for through the auction, and here's what I'll sell you the car for. So there doesn't have to be a lot of back and forth. The only time sometimes there's a little bit of negotiating room is if you've got a trade-in, because a trade-in is always a matter of opinion. You can have 5 different dealerships look at your car, and you'll get 5 different appraisals. They're not supposed to be a real big spread, but sometimes depending on if the dealership really wants your car or not, you'll be surprised on how big the spread can be. I've seen spreads as much as $6,000 in appraisals. That's unusual, though. Normally, if they use the same systems that we use, they should be within $500 or $1,000. One reason you might get a $6,000 spread, for example, and you would never know this, but let's say you go to a new car dealership or a used car dealership and you're buying a car and you give them your trade-in keys and they come back and let's say I told you the car was worth $12,000 and they come back and they tell you the car is $8,000. Well, maybe one of the reasons it's that low is because they're not keeping your car. And one of the reasons they might not be keeping the cars, they might not have any money. You know, you see the mausoleum, you see the beautiful buildings, you see all the shiny cars. That doesn't mean there's a lot of cash there. A lot of dealerships borrow all the money that they have. So when you come and you've got the title in your back pocket, guess what they have to do is if they don't have any credit left, let's say they have a $2 million credit line for their used car inventory and they're already at $2.5 million, they don't have any money left. So what they do is we call that in business, they shop your car. They call somebody else that has the money. Well, everybody gets a little bit of cut of that, and therefore, and maybe he doesn't want the car that bad, so he still makes them an offer, but it's a low offer. And that's why you want to call Frontier Motors at 436-8080 in Pensacola, and you want to get an opinion on what they should be appraising that car for. We can do this on the phone. We can do it by email. Of course, we can do it if you stop in at 230 Beverly Parkway and give you an idea of how we come up with those figures, so that if I tell you, and this happened the other day on a Ford Harley-Davidson pickup truck, and it was not a local Ford dealership, by the way. In case you're listening, I don't want them calling me, but it was a local used car dealership, and I was appraising this Harley-Davidson pickup truck for $18,000, and he got a bid of $13,000. Now, again, that's extreme. That was a $5,000 swing, but it was obnoxiously low because the truck had low miles on. It was absolutely gorgeous. I thought I was hitting the truck a little bit low. At $18,000 because I thought I could sell it for in the $22,000 to $23,000 range. So I could have been probably a little bit flexible on that appraisal if I had to be. Again, it's an opinion. But he went to another dealership and he said, boy, they were hitting it at $13,000. So very unusual that there would be that much of a spread. But we could buy that trade. And let's say you decide to buy the brand new car. Not only can I tell you what to pay for that new car because I've got the new car cost guides, but I'll buy your trade-in from you. So let's say you don't want to hassle with the trade-in, or you're afraid that they don't want the car, or you just want to be able to walk in and not have to deal with the negotiations of a trade-in. Just come to Frontier Motors and let us write you a check for the car. And on Saturday, I think there was 7 cars on Saturday that we purchased from private individuals that we just wrote them a check for. I think 2 of them we did consignments, and 5 of them we actually just wrote them a check for. And the reason we did consignment because the customer wanted a little bit more than wholesale, and they didn't have to have the car. So one of the cars that we got was I think it was a 2012 Chevrolet Cruze, where we made him an offer. He says, nah, that's a little bit lower than what I would get. I said, well, what if we give you that money on consignment? And the reason we'll pay you a little bit more on consignment is because we don't have to pay you till it's sold. So I'm not tying up my cash. Because of that, I can afford to pay a little bit more money. So the consignment program is, we're one of the few dealerships that do consignments and don't charge for it. And people say, well, how do you not charge for consignment? Well, some dealerships charge a monthly or a weekly fee. They charge $100 a week, or for advertising the car and detailing the car and all that. We don't charge anything. What we do is we tell you, okay, I can get you $15,000 for the car. Anything over that's mine. So if I sell it for $16,000, I'm making $1,000. If I sell it for $15,500, I'm making $500. The way that I look at it is anything is better than nothing. Because if I don't have the car, I'm not going to make anything. But it still has to be a good deal for our customer that's coming in. Because if I'm charging too much, they're going to take it out on Frontier Motors. So I won't put a car on consignment if it's not a good deal for our prospective customer. It has to be a win situation for everybody, where we're getting a car without paying for it. You, the customer that's putting the car on consignment, is getting more than wholesale, but that ultimately the most important thing is that when my customer that comes on our lot to look at the car doesn't think we're overcharging for the car just because it happens to be a consignment. So it has to be a win situation for everybody. And if you, the only main thing, and I'm going to put a little asterisk on consignment, the car has to be ready for sale. If you need tires, we're not going to put it on the lot unless you put tires on it. If it's got a cracked windshield, you better fix the windshield. When we put our cars on the lot, and this morning I just ran a new inventory report. Our inventory report is pages long, and this morning I have exactly 299 cars in inventory, and we bought a Honda S2000 convertible over the weekend that's not on the list, so we have exactly 300 cars on the lot. And those cars are all ready for sale. In other words, they don't need tires. They don't have check engine lights on. They're all detailed. They all have fuel in them. They're ready to roll. And that's how it should be when you come on the dealer's lot. And every once in a while you go on some of the smaller dealer's lots, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a small dealer. It could even be a big dealership. And you open the car door and it's dirty, or the leather's all cracked, or the steering wheel has still got that cover on the steering wheel because they're hiding something underneath the steering wheel. And the reason they do this, folks, is not because they don't want to present the car properly. They don't want to spend the money on the car because they don't think they're going to get it back. What I feel is that if I've got a superior product in excellent condition, even if my price is not the cheapest one in town, I'm going to win your business. Either I've got the least expensive car, or if it's not the least expensive, it's going to be the nicest. And I had a customer the other day that had told me to locate him a Honda CR-V. I hadn't found one yet. He gave me only 3 days to find one. He said, well, I found one on the internet. I'm going to go up there. And he had to go out of state to get this car. I think it was up in Georgia somewhere. Well, he called this morning and said, keep looking for that Honda CR-V for me. It was a used car, and he's kind of specific on what he's looking for. I said, well, what happened with the one that you had located? He says, I drove all the way back up there and had been in a major accident. I should have just done the Carfax. Because I asked him, I told him I can do a Carfax. He says, no, I'm going to go up there anyways. So and it was a very low mileage car and looked really good on pictures, but he didn't want one that had been in the Carfax had a major accident, airbags deployed. And, that car's going to sell. It looked great. They probably fixed it very well. He was just skeptical of it. And the only way you can sell a car like that is it better be a darn good deal. Well, it wasn't a bad deal, but it wasn't good enough to compensate for an airbag deployed car. So, of course, and I didn't even advise him not to buy it. He advised himself not to buy it. He called me back and said, go ahead and find me the car. So we do a locate program. Sometimes I get lucky, and sometimes I've got a customer looking for a Volkswagen Touareg, but it has to be white with tan leather interior. I haven't been able to find one. It's been 3 months. I haven't found it yet. People always ask me, well, how fast can you find one? I found cars in 1 day already. And sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 months to find exactly the right car. And I look not just at the auction reports, but also at other dealers' lot, and I look at eBay and some of the other places. And sometimes I don't buy them because they're not a good deal. Sometimes I don't buy them because they don't pass inspection. So everything's got to click for me to be able to buy the car. A lot of things happening in the auto industry, folks, and one of the things that's interesting, I was watching Channel 3 this morning as I was doing some of my auctions, and it said that the price of fuel, of gasoline in the Pensacola area has gone up every single day in the last 14 days. And then I get a publication that's titled in May, and that's a used car NEDA guide publication I get. And it says the large pickup trucks sales ignite. In other words, things are looking good in the large pickup truck world, with new truck sales through April increasing by an average of 20.1%. I can't figure this out. The gasoline prices go up, but the vehicles that get bad gas mileage are selling like crazy. And I guess it doesn't matter. I wonder how high the fuel prices have to go before that starts turning around. I know if you go with the leader over into Europe, they're at about $7 to $8 per gallon. I think it's made a difference over there. You'll notice if you ever go over there on vacation, you'll see small pickup trucks with turbo diesel motors that get 30 miles a gallon. Well, I don't know of any pickup truck sold in the United States right now that gets 30 miles a gallon. Now, I know a lot of cars. I don't know if you know this, but the new Camry, I think it's the 14, might be the 13 or the 14 Camry, actually has a highway rating of 40 with a gas motor, not the hybrid or not the Prius, 40. So the cars are making huge strides in gas miles. Pickup trucks, just a little bit. The new pickup trucks are rated at maybe 19 and 20 miles per gallon instead of 15 and 16. So they've come up a little bit, but it doesn't seem to matter. And the Dodge Ram currently leads the pack with a hefty increase of 25% over last year. So people are buying pickup trucks. And I do have to say that Dodge Ram pickup truck is absolutely gorgeous. Now, another thing that's happened, I saw this in the News Journal the other day, Cars.com classified. It says Nissan drops prices on 7 models for 2013. Nissan is hoping to bolster sales by cutting prices on 7 out of 18 vehicles in its lineup. Prices on model year, the 13 Ultima, the Sentra, the Juke, the Murano, the Rogue, the Maxima, and the Armada are being decreased by 2 to 10%. 10%'s a lot. and where you get a head-on collision, the motor doesn't jump into your lap. They have side air bags and side seat bags, so if you get broadsided by one of these crazy idiots in Pensacola running a red light, which you hear almost every weekend, somebody runs a red light and broadsides somebody. I can't figure that out, what the deal is with Pensacola and the red light situation. And but boy, it hurts and kills a lot of people. But fortunately, the fact that if you buy a car with side airbags, you've got a much better chance of surviving that crash than if you had one of the older cars that just has the front airbags. And there's not that many people getting into a front-end crash. It's a lot of times it's side impacts, and of course, if you don't have side airbags, you're not as protected as you would if you had them. And they still have steel beams in the doors and stuff like that, but I think to me that's really important. If you want to join us in the show, we haven't had a call, which is okay with me because I've got a lot to talk about. But our number here is 888. It's 476 1007. Again, that's 888 if you're outside the area. 476-1007, and I can help you with the value of your car. And we have the I don't actually use the black books. You'll notice I brought the black books with me. I just bring these books and still subscribe to them just for show. I very rarely open one of these books because everything's on the computer. Heck, they even have them on the smartphone. I've got the black guidebook. I can scan an ID number. If you pull up into the parking lot of Frontier Motors, I've got a program called the Mannheim Market Report, and it has a scan bar in there. So what I can do is scan your ID number. I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a barcode on every car. If it's not right by the ID number, if you open your front door, you'll have a barcode in that front door. I scan. It takes me a couple of seconds, and the history report pops up. I can tell you instantaneously if the vehicle has had any issues or not. And I can also tell you what they're going for at the auction, which is Mannheim is the largest auction chain in the world. So it'll tell me what's going on in the auction. It'll also tell me the NAD retail. I have that also. And it also tells me what cars are available within 150 to a 300-mile radius, just like that, and what they're selling for. Isn't it nice to know that if the book says the car's worth $20,000, and you say, okay, I'm going to advertise it for $20,000 because that's what the Edmunds says. But if there's 15 of them available with a 150-mile radius for $17,000, guess what, folks? You're asking too much money. I do that continuously. We put our cars on the internet, of course. We've got 10 different websites that we use from Google site, MSN, Frontier Motors, Cars.com, Auto Trader, just to name a few, and even Craigslist. We put our cars on Craigslist. And when we price them on there, I'm not going to price them if I've got the most expensive one. I'm going to do the research to make sure that I'm going to that I'm advertising that car of a good deal, especially if you're coming outside the area. If I've got the most expensive one, you're never even going to give me a call. Don, do we have a call?
Ryan from Pace.
Hey, Ryan from Pace. How can we help you?
Yes, I just wanted to get a kind of an estimate price on my truck. I have a Chevy Colorado 2006.
All right.
It's a extended cab, four-wheel drive, C71.
Okay, and it's a Colorado. Let me get to that section real quick here, Ryan, before we go any further, because it's got a couple of questions, and I'll kind of go over them with you because if you just rattle it off, I'll get out of sequence here. Okay, let's go to Colorado. And is it an extended cab, or is it a crew cab or a regular cab?
Extended cab.
Is it a four-cylinder?
It's a 5.
All right, 5-cylinder. Is it an LS or an LT?
LT.
Okay. And tell me the miles.
91,482.
Oh boy, he's driving. Don't get hurt there.
I'm sure he'll drive in a very safe and sane manner. That's what all of our listeners do, right, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
See?
All right. Okay. And then it asks me if you have four-wheel drive.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a bed liner?
No bed liner.
Okay. Do you have a topper on it or a fiberglass cap or anything like that?
No.
Leather interior?
No, sir.
Power seat?
No, sir.
Okay. You got power windows and door locks?
Yes, sir.
And is it a Z71 package?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the only other thing they add for is if you got a trailer hitch. I'm assuming you've got a trailer hitch on there.
I do.
Okay. All right. And it tells me right now, Ryan, that it gives me a couple different figures. I'm using the NADA right now. The reason I'm using that, it gives me a better perspective as far as loan value. Loan value is what I can borrow, which is supposed to be wholesale. That's $10,000. And there's a pretty big spread between wholesale and retail. It's got a really good retail value of $13,800. And that leads me to believe that if you were to sell the truck and try to get close to retail, 91,000 miles though on an extended cab, I don't think you're going to pull retail out of it. I think more realistically, if you sold it yourself, I think you're going to be in about the $12,000 range. I still think you can squeeze $12,000 out of it. If you take a dealership and get it appraised, I think you're going to probably get around 10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for calling the show. I appreciate it. And one of the things we always talk about, Don, is that you can't see the vehicle. I'm giving them book values right now.
Sure, of course.
I've had this happen already because I appraised so many vehicles. As a matter of fact, this morning I appraised about 50 vehicles starting at 5 o'clock this morning. I got done about 7:30, and all these vehicles that I appraised are sight unseen. So there's always a little asterisk in the back of it, subject to seeing and driving the vehicle. And the reason I'm
smelling.
saying that, was it Ryan or Brian that was on the phone?
Ryan with an R.
Okay, Ryan, let's say Ryan brings the vehicle in. And he said, hey, you told me wholesale is around $10,000, but let's say that he forgot to tell me that it's been in a major accident. Well, that doesn't mean I wouldn't buy it, but I'd want to know what happened, where'd he fix it, and does it have an impact on the vehicle's value? Well, of course it does. Let's say it's two-tone paint. Let's say that he had a door scratch and he painted it, and you can tell it from 100 yards away. That door's been painted, looks awful. Or let's say it needs a set of tires. Or let's say it smells. Or let's say it's ugly. There's so many things that can affect the value. Or let's say it's gorgeous, and it jumps out and you say, holy mackerel, that's the nicest Z71 Colorado I've seen in 4 months. Well, I might pay more for that vehicle over the book value. So there's a lot of things that have to do with a value when I'm quoting you value. But it's usually pretty close. I can do an appraisal. When I do private individual appraisals, we get so many people coming on the website. We have a place on the website that says, click here for your free appraisal. Well, I'll give them appraisal with an exact appraisal subject to reconditioning. Now, a lot of these people have sent me pictures so I can see what the color looks like. A lot of people don't realize that this book that the banks use, they don't ask you the color. If you got a pink vehicle, a Mary Kay vehicle, let's say you got a pink SRX Cadillac with a black leather interior, you think it would affect the value? Heck yeah, but the book doesn't think so. Your banker won't even ask you the color, and that's why the value has to be seen, not just a book value. So I want to see the car, and I want pictures if I'm going to give you a buy bid. We only got a couple minutes left. Frontier Motors is the place to go if you need any advice on what to pay for a car. I don't care who you're buying it from. It could be Aunt Jessie, it could be Uncle Fred, it could be your next door neighbor, it could be on eBay, it could be a new car dealership. I don't care. Stop at Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway. Any of our managers, we got 4 managers there that will tell you what we can get you that car for. Not to talk into buying from us, but we can tell you what you can buy that car for. And we can also tell you if we have a car like that, what they're going for. And if you're going to buy a brand new car, what is the trade worth? Let us appraise the trade for you. We'll still take a couple of minutes with you and show you what to pay for the new car and what you should get for the trade. But you never know. We might just write you a check for the car. Financing is available at Frontier Motors. We've got the lowest rates ever. I've been in business since I was 15 years old, and folks, that's a long time ago. I have never, ever in my lifetime seen new car rates or used car rates this low. And you know what? You can buy a new car for the same rate as a used car, and vice versa. People always think you pay more for used cars. Not true at all. Not at Frontier Motors. We are the alternative to new. Check out our website, 300 cars in inventory. A lot of cars with very low miles still under factory warranty. A lot of nice trade-ins that we can sell under $10,000. Click on our inventory. 31 detailed photographs. Most of them have prices. If they don't have prices, that means we just got them. So if you email us, we will tell you exactly what we can sell you that car for, and we can tell you also, give you an estimate of what we can pay for that trade. Again, Frontier Motors is 436-8080. We're located at 230 Bellevue Parkway in the heart of Escambia County, right outside of Car City. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll keep saying.
Down the street, got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.